Would you believe if I told you that it's possible to cut working for free, get money up front, remove haggling, and increase the chances of selling to the same customer again? Keep on watching my video where I will try to explain you how to achieve exactly that. So what is a prepaid plan? Well, basically think of it that a customer comes to you and buys 1 hour of some service. In this case, you give that customer, let's say, 4 coins. Each coin can be used only, of course, at your shop and represents 15 minutes. Later on, the customer comes back to you and says that, hey, could you please code this for me? Then of course you're glad to do this. If that task is going to take only 7.5 minutes, you still charge 1 coin because that's the minimal unit that you use for settling the bill. Of course, when the job takes half an hour or 25 minutes, then you take 2 coins and so on. It has a big plus because, as you can see, the time padding is already built in. This is something I was discussing when doing a movie about billable hours. Here it's actually built in and you don't have to worry about this. This is very important because basically this thing cuts working for free. And here we have 2 ideas. First of all, when you do a prepaid, you get the money up front. So basically, you don't have to do a credit check and you already have the money. When the customer calls you, it's the customer's problem whether the task is going to take 5, 15 minutes or half an hour or something like that. But if it takes less than the credit unit, then of course you will not work for free because you will charge that plus the time pad that you require in your business. Okay, so we have removed working for free and credit checks because you get money up front. Haggling is actually also solved by prepaid plans because you usually build your pricing in such a way that the more you buy, the cheaper it gets. So in that case, when you build your price plan for your prepaids, you make sure that, of course, the bigger amount you decide to leave up front in my shop, then of course the bigger discount you get. This makes it very easy if you don't like to discuss discounts and so on, because then it's already built in whatever you have in your company. How much you should discount it, it's entirely up to you, but of course the biggest plan where the customers leave most money, that should be of course above your pain point when it comes to your hour price and still guarantee you enough income so that you're happy when you work. Okay, so how do you actually make sure or at least increase chances of selling again to the same customer? Well, first of all, you should deliver what you promise. So obviously if you deliver a bad service or bad performance, don't be surprised people don't buy from you again. But that was the obvious one. The other thing is also that the prepaid plans, they actually allow you to build unique relationship with your customers and increase the loyalty. And there's a couple of tricks that you have to remember when you do this. These tricks, this is something we discovered at EFFIHUB, and we were completely shocked when we looked at the data. The first trick is, of course, transparency. Remember that people give you money up front. That means they actually put all the eggs in one basket. So in EFFIHUB we have a customer portal where our customers can log in and they can actually follow and see the consumption of all the credits on the prepaid plans that they have. They can see their expiration dates and so on. The other things that we discovered that work extremely well when it comes to building loyalty among your customers, these are notifications. We have several notifications in EFFIHUB, but the ones that turned out to be like completely golden were among expiration date, because when you create your prepaid plans you should set an expiration date in them. If you don't do this, then you risk, of course, accommodating a large debt in your company, and this is something you like to avoid. You have an expiration date. It is a good idea if the expiration date is, for example, 1 year, that 1 month before the expiration occurs that you email your customers and tell them that, hey, within a month your prepaid plan is going to expire. Actually, the reaction of your customers when you tell them that, hey, within a month it's expiring, is there something I can do for you so that you don't lose your money? Hey, he's actually, or she is taking care of my money and I'm actually in good hands. Why you should have it automated? Again, something I said in my previous videos. That's some of the metadata that should be automated. And believe me, we have a lot of customers that have dozens of active prepaid plans. I can't imagine doing this by hand. The next thing is a low credit notification. This is also something that can trigger extra sales. And here, for example, if you have a prepaid plan with a unit of 15 minutes, and let's say you have like 3 credits left, which is 45 minutes. And when you reach that threshold, the system automatically sends an email to your customer saying like, hey, you have only 3 credits left. You don't have to, but if you would like to make sure that I can still deliver the service that you want, you can just buy a new one. And believe me, this thing actually increased sales, repeated sales to customers amazingly. So, if you asked me, what are the important ingredients? Have a system that automates as much as possible. In this case, EFFIHUB was basically made to deal with prepaids from the very beginning. And then have the notifications, because the notifications, they are the small bits that increase the loyalty of your customers and that make actually all that work manageable in the long run. Introduction of prepaid plans in your business is going to probably take a little bit of time. Unless you have a big personal brand, then of course the trust issue is not going to be there. But if you're just a starting consultant and so on, then of course the trust plays a big role. Because remember, people put money up front at your business. So of course the roles are kind of changing. So in this case, you have to have a personal brand, or you have to have some kind of confirmation that comes from other people that will say, well, okay, if you put money there, you are actually safe. But what if you decide to select your credit unit to be something else than time? Well, then you have to be very careful, because there are 2 things you have to consider. The first one is that, of course, the time consumption that you use for solving a given task within 1 credit, that should fit so that you're not actually losing money. When it comes to the other thing, it's actually connected with sales. Because if you use a surrogate unit, if I can call it like this, then your pricing becomes a little bit more complex to understand by your customers. I know it sounds funny. People understand the idea of credits when it's presented with time units, but when it's something else, it might get a little bit complex, especially if you sell prepaid plans with different credit units. And this is something I would recommend that you actually avoid. Something I forgot to mention. Well, basically, when you sell prepaids, you have to remember one little thing. Whatever you sell, and before you actually use it, so before you actually mark a credit as being done, you don't have to pay tax from that. So if you sell a prepaid and you go to a new fiscal year, all the credits that are unused on your prepaid plans, these credits you can actually transfer to the next fiscal year. This is something called in English accrual of income. In Danish it's called periodisering av indtægter. If you ask, Michael, why aren't you selling prepaids? In my case, in my consulting work, prepaids absolutely do not make sense. They actually would be an impediment when it comes to settling the bill with my customers. But I was selling prepaids a few years ago when I was working almost 100% on consulting, and at that point I must say that it worked very well for me, and all the things I said in my video, they are actually based on that experience from that time. I was talking a lot about the credit unit, that it's supposed to be time, and there is a reason for that. You use the time as the credit unit because it makes a lot of calculations much easier, and if you sell something else as a credit, you have a different unit, I recommend that you make something that is called the time equivalent. This is very crucial, because when you start working with things and solve tasks for prepaids, you might have a feeling that you're actually working for free because you're not getting money after you're getting money up front. To summarize everything, how to do this so that you can go bananas with your prepaids. Well, if prepaids are so great and so on, why aren't they so widespread? Well, it all depends on the market and the country where you are actually located. As I said, Prepaids, they are built on trust. People have to trust you. You also have to remember that when it comes to payment, the liquidity problem is being shifted onto your customers. So it's no longer you giving a credit, it's your customers giving the credit to you. Sometimes building this trust can require that you actually have a very powerful personal brand. And this is not something you can build overnight. I do have in my network people that have businesses which only work on prepaids. And yes, they are extremely successful, and it took them some time to get to the place where they are today. How to start with prepaids? I'll give you an idea, and it is going to be based on my personal experience. The way I did it, I'm sorry I'm laughing because there is a big cat just in front of me. In my business, I had a trial prepaid. And this is the prepaid that people could buy in order to test the relationship. It was based on 3 credits, and my credit unit was 15 minutes, so it was 45 minutes they could use. Later on, I had 4 packs of prepaid plans. I had the small one, the bigger one, XL, VIP, XXL. Hello. The last plan was not supposed to be sold actually, because if you look on the pricing strategies and pricing psychology, the last plan is not really there to be sold. It's supposed to push customers to buy the ones that you have in the middle. And of course I had a progressive discount, so the more people bought at once, the bigger the discount they were getting. Going down the banana road is much easier than going up. That's why I'm not breathing so heavily this time. What you can do on top of that with prepaids in conjunction with billable hours is that you can offer billable hours, and you can say that, well, every time you start half an hour, that's how you're being charged. If you buy a prepaid, then no problem. You can get it as low as 15 minutes. This is another way of introducing prepaids, and in this case, well, customers will get additional incentive to do it like this. To finish everything, if you start doing prepaids, remember to automate as much as possible, because the amount of administrative work connected with prepaid management, it's much bigger. It is much easier with billable hours and so on, but yeah, there is a lot more to win with prepaids. And also, if you decide to do prepaids, remember the small ingredients which I mentioned about the notifications and so on. If you forget these, you will not get the results that you expect. So you will not increase dramatically the loyalty of your customers, and you will have it harder to sell it to them. What is very interesting here on this banana road, what you can see here, this is a levada. It is actually the irrigation system that they have here on Madeira, and they use it, of course, to water the fields here with the bananas. And yeah, as you can see, plenty of bananas everywhere. So I wish you luck with the prepaids, and if you would like to see some of the connections between billable hours, I recommend you watch the billable hours video. And as I said before, I will be talking also about recurring prepaid plans, but that is something I will do in a video about subscriptions. So, best of luck!